Hi, Ian.
Hey,
Uh,
Obi.
this is our seventh chapter of the land of BFO, and today we'll be looking at all the great things that BFO has to offer, ontologies of relation, and with like a brief on is a deeper dive in chapter seven, the core relations, then my wrap on axiom, transitivity, reflexivity, and as much as we could go. I think this is a good place for us to be able to understand what we'll be building on since chapter one. And I think you came to see the reason why you need ontology.
We've introduced a bunch of stuff about BFO already. So we've talked about continuants and we've talked about occurrence and we've given some examples for each. And now the next thing that we're going to talk about, like Obi said, are the other relationships that we talk about in BFO specifically. And so one of them is a relationship which helps us build out the backbone of our taxonomy. But there are a lot of other things that we can say in ontology, which is one of the things that separates it from being just a flatter taxonomy. Those relationships are broken into four categories. They're the foundational relations, spatial relations, temporal relations, and participation relations. And those are ISA and continuant part of, occurrent part of are all the foundational relations. And then we'll talk about located in, adjacent to, and derives from, preceded by, and has participant. Um,
I think I will start with the beautiful disaster called related to. And I know a lot of people think, oh, related to will be one of the easiest thing you could do. This is we have got a knowledge graph that has example like 2 million triples and still can answer where is the kidney? What does the process does the patient participate in? What came before the deployment? Let me guess. Everything is connected to related to. Exactly. It's a graph with no semantics. BFO says stop drawing lines, start using relations with rules. Because relations are logic, right? So when you start like structuring your relations, that makes an ontology actually works. It emphasizes that is a central, but then introduce the other core relations BFO relies on, spanning parthood, space, time, and participation. The chapter closes with axiom, relations, properties like um, trans transitivity, reflexivity, symmetric, and antisymmetric kind of help us hold it together.
um, So is our relationships, we've talked about a bunch. They help us with our Aristotelian definitions. The next one that I think we can talk about is continuant part of, which is talking about the parthood relation for continuants. And so continuants, remember, are things that exist through time. They're like physical objects, organs, material entities. Um, and so when we're talking about continuant parthood, we're talking about parts of continuants. So like my liver is part of my body at this moment. That's how BFO would express it. And there is some time indexing that's happening in when we talk about these relationships, because especially as BFO is used for biomedical ontologies, like things change over time. So we might remove that tumor. It might not be in your body anymore. And so when we're talking about the relationship, a lot of times in the book, it will say the tumor is in the patient's body at time t, for example. Um, and so that's just a way that we can get even more specific with these relations.
I just want to clear one thing before we proceed for the East A. I know that a lot of people know that East A's subtype is the backbone of your ontology, but you have to be extremely careful because if you say A is a B, then for every instance of A is also an instance of B. So A inherits what B implies. For the example, surgery is a process is a relationship. I wouldn't say kidney is a surgery. They will send you straight to ontology J. So That is the backbone. You need to capture the parts whole and location, timing, and participation, because that would help us a lot. He said his skin, his heart, his lungs are part of his body, a nucleus is part of his cell. And the key BFO variable for your continuous, your parenthood is time sensitive at the instance level, so that each instance of the part has to be part of some instance of the whole at the relevant time. And this works well when you say a cell is a nucleus, is a continuous part of a cell, means wherever you have that has a nucleus, at the time it exists, it's part of the cell at those time. I know, like when you say it that way, it's kind of confusing, but it's make you see the beauty of how ontology work.
Um, the next one is an occurrent part of. And so we just talked about the continuant part of. But then if we're talking about occurrence, so then this is the parthood of a process. There are different parts that make up a process. The parts of a process, they're just going to be earlier or later segments of the process. So, for example, if part of cleaning my house is vacuuming the floor or doing the dishes, we can say that, vacuuming the floor is part of cleaning house, something like that.
I would only add to that that this is your best friend for workflows, because remember, everything in a workflow happen at a very specific time during the process. This is great for something that has to do with workflows, pipeline, surgeries, migration, anything that has a phase. If you say I am traveling, this is this is like the part where you either get in a car, you get on a plane. Like these are like there's a process. You anytime you think about a process, think about occurrence part of, and you'll be good. I will go to the next one, which is located in. This like is a special relationship, right? Because when you say located in, it handles containment, like a location to continuous, right? So like I can say kidneys is located in the torso, right? I can say the White House is located in DC. So that located in is very, you need to have that to prevent sloppy model, because it's one of those relations that support chain inference. When you start having chain inference, it will help you a lot. I can say Sony Buffalo is in Buffalo, New York, while Buffalo Wings is in Buffalo, New York. When I do a chain inference, it will tell me that those both things are in Buffalo, New York. So when your map blows up, those inference comes as key to be able to make sense of the data.
The other spatial relation that we can talk about, though, is adjacent to. And so instead of we're located in is, something is in something else, adjacent to means that it borders something else. And it holds between two independent continuants that are going to share a boundary without being part of each other. So like two neighboring cells are adjacent, or the left lung is adjacent to the right lung, or a cell membrane is adjacent to the extracellular matrix.
I will do derive from. And this part I love because this is the temporal relationship now first derived from. It's used when instance of one continuous kind arise from earlier instance of another kind, right? Which a notion of material continuous, the later inherits matters from the earlier.
For example, we would use this in like manufacturing. So like a gold watch derives from the ore that it was cast from. It's tracking the transfer of material or informational content. So it's like as things like shift into something else, um, uh, was like when cells go through mitosis. That when they
Oh
become
yeah.
two different cells,
So
it's like this matter that was one cell has now become two cells, and so it like has derived from the old matter. The other temporal one is preceded by, which is a relationship between two occurrents. So that's saying when, like specifically when something happened in time. So This one is pretty intuitive, I think, but if I kicked the ball and then it went in the goal, my kicking was preceded, nope, sorry, other way around. The goal was preceded by me kicking the ball.
True. Um, I think the last one we have is has participant, the bridge between a noun word and a verb word. It relates to a process of a continuous that participates in. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that lets us compare continuance and occurrence together. So we can say that a continuant took place in a process in an occurrent.
I think the other part I would say is for most universal level relations, beside is A, um, that are like all relevant instance, like a B, that corresponds instance level to some other instance of B, no exception allowed, is it can be dangerous. Um, uh, you're making a for all claim, and for all claims can be bad because most times it's not always true. And I think the next part of that would be inversion gets tricky because you often can't simply reverse a relationship at a universal level. The human testicle continue as part of a human is fine, but a human has continuous parts. Human testicle fail universally because not all human has testicles. So that's the part where you would need to be careful because you can't do some things universally because when you try to walk back the information, you come into like that. And I think the book does a good job of distinguishing a clean reverse, which is sometimes possible from what is called reciprocal relation and like a paired relation that goes into opposite direction, but do not mirror all some continuum.
These relationships are also axiomatized in the book, meaning that they are going to be really specifically defined using logic. And these axioms actually constrain how the relations interact with each other. And this is what enables the automated reasoning that we can do over an ontology.
True. And I would say the one other thing I would say is easy as your friend is the taxonomy backbone. And I think the other seven core relationship let you model structure, space and time, and participation. And the awesome rule keeps your universe assertion honest. And I think axiom and property are very good reasons to be able to infer safely. So think if you stop using related to as a duct tape and start using BFO relation with formal properties, your ontology become interpretable, queryable, and logically shaped. And that is when you enjoy ontology.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks so much for yeah, talking today, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Obi.
Thank you.